Hi, thank you guys for joining that are here in person. Can everyone online, can you guys hear us? Can you see Janelle? Is there anybody
Yes.
that said they can't hear? Okay. Well, if you cannot hear, please type it in the chat, so that we can make sure to remedy that. All right, those of you guys that are online, if you guys can keep yourself on mute, we are recording the meeting, so feel free to keep your camera off if you would not like that. And if you do have questions, feel free to unmute yourself and ask, or raise your hand, and you guys feel free to ask they're here in person. So, all right, the agenda today, we're going to chat a little bit about EVV, the multi-factor authentication with PNM, the extended travel rule, the 15-day rule that we follow, the documentation updates, changing demographic, the new MUI rule that's coming out in July, and just that there's training coming and other trainings we have available. So at any point, if you have questions, please stop me. I'd be happy to, we can chat about it. So for EVV, and I promise to stand over here, our cameras are facing this way, leading online. So right now, if you are not doing EVV, I would strongly, it is required that you are doing it, but if you're not, please do it now. Your claims are not being denied. So even if you missed one, you're having trouble getting in, something like that, your claims aren't being denied. Starting on October 1st of this year. Oh, they can't see the screen. Thank you, Janelle. Oh. They sure can. Yep. Is it sharing the right screen now? Let me get rid of this guy though. There we go. Okay. All right, so that EVV is electronic visit verification. So you are providing any service that you bill 15-minute units. You need to do EVV. There is, and I actually have it on the next slide here, that there is an exception for in this middle one here, that if you are providing supports for an individual that you live with, so HBC supports shared living, you may qualify for an exemption to not have to do this electronic visit verification. Some of you that knew that, you may have already submitted a paper version of this form, and they're still processing those. They now have an electronic way to submit, and that's what this link goes to get that, to request that exemption. It does take some time to get the exemption, even if you qualify. So you are required to continue to log in and do the EVV. And so what that is that you're essentially clocking into the system, saying that you were there, you're providing service, who you're providing it to, what the service is, and then you're, clocking back out when you're done. And they match that against the claim that you submit for your billing when you submit that. So that's what EVV is. And starting in October, if that clock in, clock out does not match your billing, they will deny your claim. And they're going to match it against the person, make sure they have an authorization for that time, which obviously now they already do that. If there's no authorization, you don't get paid out for the service, but also the ratio and all, they're going to match everything up. So we want to make sure that you guys are connected to this, using it, familiar with it prior to October, because we don't want anybody to have claims get kicked back when you submit for October, November. We want to preemptively get you guys going with this. We do recognize that there's many steps to getting connected to this. So if you are not connected to this, we, in the next couple weeks, should have some information coming out to you guys about the steps to help you get all the way through this process, because it is like 5 or 6 steps, so. Medicaid does, if you want to look at it, they have a ton of resources. This is a Medicaid requirement that, you know, DoD providers have. So it is on the Medicaid webpage, that they have lots of resources. They have videos about how to connect and things like that. So if you Google, you know, EVV Ohio Medicaid, that screen will pop up for you. And then when you get the presentation, you can click on the link as well. There are office hours that EVV has with Sandata that you can also join that can assist you. Some things for other providers reported they're super helpful with. Some providers still struggle even with that, but it's definitely worth a try if you're having trouble. Any questions about? Not working anymore. All right. Oh, and this last one is just contact information for EVV. So there's certainly that daily thing that you can do, but also you can email or call them. There is an alternate EVV if you alternate from Sandata. Most independent providers are just using Sandata. Might actually be required for independent providers. I can't remember. And then once the claims piece rolls out, this ODM integrated help desk would be who you would call regarding claims issues. So that one's probably not where you're going to reach out now. You're going to be reaching out to get set up and get going with EVV. Yep.
There's a question, sure, but they need some from EVV.
It typically is, you have to submit that exemption form. Oh, you don't need to, thank you, Kim. You don't need to, because you live with the person, shared living is always exempt, thank you. If you live with the person with HPC, you have to submit the form, but for shared living, it's always exempt, thank you. Yep.
I'm just wondering if anybody here has actually been able to make it all the way through the EVV thing so it actually works for him. I've been trying for a couple of years now. I've talked to people here and I've talked to people on those numbers, and I filed the exemption form last July. And recently I just talked to somebody from one of those numbers. I think it was from Medicaid for the EVV number, and she told me that I put the wrong numbers on the form, but I got the numbers from someone at DD here.
Okay.
And then she said that me and my son were not in the Sandata database, and we hung up and she closed the thing, and I went and checked and we are there. I mean, and I can't figure out how to actually clock in and clock out on it.
Okay.
I've done all the training. I've followed all the steps, but I can't figure it out.
Okay.
So has anybody been able to do it?
Yes, it has been a struggle we have had some providers that we've worked with that have been able to get all the way through the process, but your experience is not unique in your frustration. So I want to acknowledge that it is frustrating. You are not alone in that. We have found that the brand new people who are brand new today, starting out as providers, that sometimes it's a little easier for them because they have not done anything in the system. Kind of like when you get partway through, it's harder to figure out how to fix whatever step we need to go back to. We can try to troubleshoot with you. We are not experts on this, but we have worked with some providers and gotten them successfully through. So if you'd like to, oftentimes that's meeting one of us in the office and we will try to get you.
It might be helpful to have a training session where everybody's here with their computers and you go through all the steps and get everything set up.
Yeah.
Because of how complicated. I think one of the problems really with the DV thing, that it's set up for a business. And technically we are, because that's how, they have to do it so that we can take care of our family members. But when it's set up like a business, we don't have an office staff. You know, and the time we spend trying to figure this out is time that we can't use to take care of our family members, you know?
Yes, yeah, absolutely. It is taking a lot of time. It's been, and there has been changes. So even if you, you kind of instruction manuals on how to connect from a couple years ago, some of that stuff has changed. So we can make sure you have the most up-to-date stuff that, because Medicaid recognizes, I think, that this has been a struggle for many providers, not even because this is being implemented, not just in the DOD system, in the Ohio Department of Aging system and other Medicaid services. So this is definitely something that people are struggling with, that they're developing tools and supports all the time to try to support with. But yeah, if you can shoot an email to provider support at summittd.org, we can try to make sure you have the most up-to-date stuff. And if that doesn't work, we can schedule. Okay. Any other questions about EVV?
Yes, someone said, I'm sorry, I missed the last bit where you said that the shared living is exempt, but you have to blend it.
All right, shared living, you don't have to do anything. I misspoke, sorry. Shared living is exempt, because it is not a 15-minute billable service. So this is your services like HPC that you are billing 15 minutes. Yes.
Does the EVV also qualify for transportation?
For HPC transportation, yes, if you were just, no, that's miles, sorry. So if you're doing HPC and HPC transportation, then you would do it for the HPC portion.
Okay, but not for the transportation.
All right. The multi-factor authentication. So this is where when you go into a website, I know a lot of websites now are requiring that you that they're going to send you a text to verify that it's you. So in case somebody got your passwords. So in a number of Medicaid DoD systems, they're moving to require a multi-factor authentication. So just like when you log into your bank or you're logging into something else, they're going to send you a text message. They're going to send you an email to verify that it's you. So for PNM, this is now going to be required for providers. I know this is not something that you go into all the time, but it's something that you want to make sure you have access to when you do need it. So they're asking that before May 4th, so sometime in April, take some time that you go in and you set up multi-factor authentication. So you are essentially doing the steps to set up, hey, I want them to send me a text or an email, or I want them to call me to verify, like whichever one of those options works for you. And they have a set of instructions that was sent out this morning with the meeting invite, but we'll resend it with the PowerPoint as well, on how to do this. So it's long, but they literally do a screenshot for every page to tell you how to do this. So you want to make sure to do it, like I said, for May 4th, sometime in April, I would plan to do it. That way you don't get locked out of PNM and have to sit on like IT or something to get yourself in later. Because this has been an option in their system. If you happen to be a very secure, savvy person and you've already done this, you don't need to do anything else. You can just, you've already done it, you're good. But if you have not set that up, it is going to be required, or it is required. Did everyone see that attachment for the invite today? There's an attachment to the email? No? When we send out the PowerPoint, we'll resend it, or if you go back, with an email that came from Gretchen this morning, it's an attachment to the email. Yeah.
Also, when you do this, because I did mine, they'll send you a text or an email telling you you did it correctly. So if you don't get that,
I didn't write to know. Yeah.
and then I went out and went back in and I thought, oh, it didn't work because it didn't ask me for a second. So it must start after me.
Either that, or maybe it's still, if you were on the same device, it might have registered that you just did it on that device.
I made it a couple days and it went back in. It was like, give me my two, and it didn't yet.
It didn't.
Okay, it might not start.
Oh, yeah.
It did tell me I did it right.
Okay.
Send you some, so look
Okay.
at that.
Yes. That is not, if everything could always tell us, like, you did this right, you're all done, you know? Sometimes, you know, you're like,
I think it knew I was struggling, so it just.
all right, any questions about that? Multi-factor authentication?
Play it back one more time.
I'm sure, yes, yeah.
Thank you.
All right, extended travel rule. So, this rule is slated to go into effect on 7/1, so we're talking about it a little bit early, and this could still change, but I wanted to give you guys a heads up. So, this is for individuals receiving waiver services, that they need to inform their SSA at least 30 days prior to extended travel. The rule is going to define that as 4 consecutive nights or more. And if it is unplanned, and the example that they give is, you know, family's funeral or family illness or something like that, you just let the SSA know as soon as possible. So this rule's intention is so the SSA can kind of go through with the team and make sure the person still has everything that they need when they're traveling, like who's going to be taking care of their meds, is that support person med certified still, who's going to be taking care of whatever other care needs they have, you know, where are they going to be staying? Is that place accessible for them? And that the team just has that conversation to make sure that their needs can still be met on the trip. And that we're just planning for it, you know, to make a way work. If the person wants to travel, they can travel, and that they have the things that they need when they do. So the SSA, is going to talk about that stuff with the team. They're going to, put that information in the plan, including where they're staying, and then also the people to contact in case of emergency. Because I know a lot of times maybe they're not all of their support staff. Maybe if you're an HBC provider, you're going with them. Maybe they typically also have a couple of other HBC providers. And if something happens to you, who do you contact? Because you as the provider are now in California with an individual who needs support needs, you know, like we're going to plan for that ahead of time so that people know what to do. And then, like I said, the care needs, medical needs, and then how the team's going to communicate so that it's real clear to you guys, like if you guys are out of state, how can you get a hold of the SSA? Are you supposed to reach out? You know, is there a guardian? Like that stuff's already in the plan, but how is that communication best going to be, especially in the case of emergency?
Yeah. Someone wants to know if you go back to the last.
Yep. Yeah,
Again, is this for shared living also?
this would be for shared living, yes. Yep.
Would this also be for HPC?
Yep.
Does it apply if you're within the state or only if you leave the state?
If you leave the state. Yep, you could certainly, I would imagine that this is probably a good conversation to have with the SSA, even if you're just going to Columbus, because you guys can talk through it, but it's only required if you're leaving the state.
I have something kind of related to this. I have 2 houses,
Okay,
and one here in Summit County, one in Jefferson County. Which DD board would be, that's been almost half your questions, which DD board covers and how many days would I have to be in the one, you know, it's here and
that is, especially like a JFS Medicaid eligibility question, so I am gonna, like, we can chat about it after, and I can make sure you have the right people to talk to. But that is like a specific to your situation, and then the rules around that with JFS. So yeah, if you want to stick around after, we can chat about it. Yeah.
I just kind of went from a real life scenario.
Yes.
So I did do shared living for my son. And we did do a month trip
Mhm.
to Marietta, Georgia.
Mhm.
And this is way before this even became an effect. But we had to make a lot of things accessible for him because he was in a wheelchair and in medication. At some point, we were getting ready to run out, And I had to call and get everything switched over while we were down there.
Yeah.
So I think this is a good thing to have in place because, we made it work.
Yeah.
But it was not easy. We brought his Hoyer lift and
Yes.
everything.
Yeah, and it like having somebody else to sit and talk through kind of
Right.
some of the things and just plan for.
It is doable.
Mhm.
But it's those extra things. They didn't know where hospitals are.
Mhm. Yep. Yeah, and this is in no way to deter people from what they want to do. They want to travel, they want to travel with family, they want to go to college out of state, like this is not to deter people from doing any of those things. It is, hey, we need to talk about it so that we're gonna have a thinking. And we need to, put some parameters in place and some steps in place to make sure they have it. Yes.
So the question is, the person receiving the services to reach out and advise the SSA.
Yes, the person receiving the service is to let the SSA know or their guardian if that applies. Also, if there's a change to these plans, so you get to Marietta and you were only going for 3 weeks and now you're gonna stay for 6 weeks. It is on the rule actually, as it is written now, asks both the provider and the individual to let the SSA know that the plans change. And then this, providers do have to follow all rules during travel. So if you're doing HPC or you're doing shared living, you're gonna continue to do documentation. You're gonna continue to report MUIs, do a UI process. If that were to come up, do follow medication administration rules. Anything that you would need to communicate with the team, you would do so, and then update that estimated changes. Any questions on that? Yes.
Do you EBB in once and out once during this time?
That would be dependent on how the services are authorized. And typically you wouldn't be able to do EBV, like you wouldn't be able to provide straight awake services unless you were only going for a short time. So if you're gone for 4 days, no one's expecting providers are awake for 4 days and providing week services. So you probably have to do it more than just once, but that I think you talk to the team about, like when you're a paid support, when you're a natural support, or somebody else is going to be providing natural support, or if there's 2 people going like that. That answer that question? Let me know if anything else needed. All right, 15-day rule. SSAs are actually required to get the plan, the ISP to you guys 15 days prior to the service starting. So this is the reasoning for this is so that you have time to read the ISP, ask any questions, make sure you know the services they're asking, outcomes, and familiarize yourself with it. There are exceptions that are allowed to be made. Obviously, if somebody needs emergency support or something like that, then sometimes we have to waive that, and we will ask you if the ones starting a new service, hey, do you feel comfortable to start this service because this is an emergency? What information do you need and when do you feel comfortable? That would also have to be approved by the guardian, and again, it has to be emergency. It can't just be a type situation, like I really want to start this tomorrow. It has to be really, truly emergency. What this means for you is if you are selected to be a new provider for an individual and you are still willing and able to do that, it's going to be about 30 to 45 days from the time that selection happens to when the new service starts, because it takes the SSA 15 to 30 days to get all that budgetary stuff in and to get everything in the plan and to get to do everything on their side that they need to do. And then that allows that last 15 days for you to do what you need to do. So this has been in rule. Some stuff kind of changed, was a lot more flexible during the pandemic. This is something that we are certainly following a lot better now. So when you are starting new services, you might run into this. You probably will run into this. We would ask that, like, when you guys are talking to a family about starting new services, that you kind of refer back to the SSA about when services are going to start. Defer back to that team process. Certainly, as a provider, you should be part of that discussion of when you are available and when it's going to work for you. But we want to make sure that we're getting you the information that you need and they're getting the service authorized as well.
It said they were getting background noise.
Any questions on this?
It said they were getting background noise.
And during that 15 days, when you guys get the plan, if there's stuff in there that you guys can talk about, doesn't make sense to you, you don't know what you're supposed to do, and like you read the services and supports, and that's not really what you talked about, you don't know what something means, please, I mean, even after that 15 days, but please reach out to the SSA, because we want everybody to be on the same page about what support somebody needs. It's obviously a lot better at the beginning than, you know, having people on different understandings 6 months later, so. Documentation, we just wanted to touch on this because we have run into some providers who are coming up on their provider compliance reviews, or just in other occasions, and they don't have documentation or they don't have the right documentation. And over the years, documentation requirements have changed. So if you have doc sheets that you've had for 5 or 10 years, it might be a good idea. Look on DGD, they've made some templates that you guys are welcome to use. You don't have to use their templates, but you do have to have all the required information, and that is on their templates. So one of those times where something changed was the NMT rule was updated in January, and it now requires odometer readings. So if you provide NMT services, you want to make sure you're capturing your odometer readings when you start and finish on your documentation, in addition to the other stuff that was always required. And DoD has updated the template on their website that you're welcome to use. As long as that information, but all the required information is, you just use your own. So, but this is definitely something that I know a lot of providers, when they have provider compliance reviews or SSA's monitoring, that they don't have documentation, they run, this is an area where I know providers run into trouble. This is also somewhere like Medicaid can and will sometimes ask for documentation. Sometimes they'll just ask for a specific day that you billed for. If you don't have it, they will make you pay back services. It can be, you know, concerns of fraud. So like documentation of what you're doing that matches your billing is very important. Any questions on that? Another thing that we have come across with a lot of providers have changes in demographics. And by that, you move, your email changes, your last name changes, your phone number changes. Per rule, you're required to keep that updated with DoD. So DoD often their first and their only sometimes communication is via email address. So you definitely want to keep checking that whatever email address you gave them when you signed up, until you have fully changed that in the system, you want to keep checking that email address because you don't want to miss important communication from them. We also at Summit County, if you're a provider in Summit County, which I'm guessing you all are, need that information so we can get in touch with you. So the SSA can get in touch with you so that a potential individual who wants to receive services from you, that we use that information. We also want to be able to communicate about this kind of stuff. So we need you to update with us. There are, as a provider, a few places that you need to update with DoD. You have to update, make sure that you in the system that pays you, you need to update the system for DoD and in Medicaid. And then you're contacting the county. So when you're changing something, you're changing it 4 times, I would strongly suggest, especially your email address that you have control over, that you pick one and you stick with it. So you don't run into issues with that. But obviously those other things that, you change your name or you move or whatever, just make sure that you're informing. And if you have trouble getting through that process, that's certainly something that we support with provider supports. Please reach out and we can assist you with what those steps are and screenshots of how to go through that. Yep.
So relating to the updated demographics, someone wants to know, isn't it all handled through PNM?
It is not, unfortunately. You do have to update it there, but you also have to update it in the other systems as well.
And going back to the NMT, the odometer readings, when were providers asked to start them?
January 1, they did an update to the NMT rule in January, and they added that in there.
Of this year? Oh, okay.
So if you have not done that, it is not like you wouldn't go back and edit documentation that you don't have that information. Just moving forward, correct your documentation now that you know. Any other questions?
Can you just
Yes,
name the 4 places again where we have to update our demographics if you have to, just the 4 sites?
I'm gonna, it is. Yeah, I'm looking at you, I can bring up the cheat sheet. I'm gonna bring up the cheat sheet. PNM, Ohio Pays,
Ohio pays
and DOD.
and your OHID,
And your OHA.
your OHID, you have to change it there. That's like private first place, and then you have to go into DOD and do a new security affidavit and get it changed to DOD.
And some of that has changed over time, so if that
Maybe
NPI.
NPI as well.
Cause it is a step, cause I had to recently do that, a move to call a pause. And you have to do it in a specific
Yeah.
order, yeah,
Ohio
order.
pays, then DOT.
You have to do Ohio pays before you do DOD, because it'll ask you for proof that you did it in Ohio pays. For an address. Email is different, it's a little bit different.
We have a cheat sheet on.
We do.
Yes, can you? Cause I'm not gonna remember all the steps. I can't tell you what I had to do, cause I had to keep calling provider support to walk me through everything. So, is there a, email, not? Is there a link for the cheat sheet?
Yeah, well,
Oh, okay, thank you.
So when that happens, when you inevitably change you move or some things, reach out to provider support so we can give you the most updated at that time, because as these systems have evolved, they also change. So, yes.
There's 3.
All right.
Okay, the first one is, how do you find the template for the odometer readings?
Oh, that is a good question. Give me just a second. I'm sorry? You can, I'm pulling up. Yeah. Mhm. There we go. All right, so can you see the DODD website? Okay. Supporting providers. Then. It's over here. I'm gonna actually. That is. It. Sorry, I can't read that. There it is. Okay, so if you, let me go back to the main page. From DoD's main page, if you just go to the bottom, just scroll all the way, hit compliance. On the left side, you're gonna hit provider resources. Gonna go to more provider resources. And the link directly here is in the PowerPoint, so when this gets sent out, you guys can get that. But it is documentation templates. Click there.
So that is the, I'm at the
Yep.
Office of Compliance.
Yep.
My computer running slow.
No, you're good. All right, so you're here with the
Yes.
state. Okay, so you're gonna hit provider resources on the left side.
Okay.
And then you're gonna go to more provider resources. And then you're gonna go down to documentation templates. And then if you go down here, shared living, HPC transportation are here. NMT is there. So you can click on each of these. And there, it'll give you a blank one that you can use. So this one is used like for both agency and independent providers, but it has all the required information. If you want to take this as a template and make your own, you can do that. Okay. Any other questions while I have this up, Janelle?
So just to be clear, the per trip does not have it on there, but per month does.
Thank you.
Another MNT question is, oh no, it's if you're doing per trip, do you have to block it on the reads?
Yes.
Yes, unless it's the special.
Oh, the CIE.
Unless it's the special per trip rate. That's based on miles and it's the community integrated employment.
Yes.
And you're authorized for it. Then you do the odometer reading for per trip. Only if it's for employment and you're authorized for that. That's based on miles.
It is, yeah.
Right.
Did everybody hear that?
I heard it.
All right.
It's a lot. This is all new for me because I'm transitioning from shared living to trying to do this, so it's totally different.
All right. Hold that.
And I don't want her to have to repeat all of that.
I'll say it again.
Yeah, see?
If you're showing up with per rate and it's just a flat 28.29. Going to a day service program. Employment, but it's just the flat 28.29, you do not need the odometer reading. But if you're doing the special NMT rate that started January 1st, that is based on mileage and taking 1% at a time to community employment only, then you do have to do the odometer. And if you're doing per mile, but per mile is usually day services when they take them out in the community. That's the per mile rate, is typically for day services when they go in the community. they do the adopter. So
Where did you find this information?
in the rule, in the DOTD rule.
Okay.
On forms and rules, you have to look at your NMT, or you can ask us if you have any questions specific to that.
Cause I hear what you're saying, now I understand it, but to be able to regurgitate that,
Mhm.
I'm gonna have to see it again.
There's a new rate of NMT that started January 1st, and it was to incentivize people taking one-on-one people to their community jobs, and sometimes those jobs are outside a lot of miles away, like it's 1 to 15 is a certain rate, 15 to, I can't quote it, is another rate, and it's a little upcharge, so that is where they want to see the downward reading on this special rate for regarding community employment.
Okay, but it's all.
Yeah. If you,
Here, but it's on forms and rules.
yep, if you go to forms and rules up here, so this actually, I'll go back to the main page again.
Thank you.
Yeah, you go to forms and rules. You want to go to rules in effect. Any of the rules that we're talking about that, like the one we were talking about for extended travel is in rules under development because it's not happening yet. You want to go to rules in effect. And then all of the rules that we talk about or that you guys as providers are need to follow are all in here. I'm gonna scroll down here. So there is the provider certification for independent providers. That one has, it'd be important for you guys as independent providers to know the things that are in there, your training requirements, that's all in there. And then licensed residential facilities, you can just scroll past that because that doesn't apply. County Board of DD doesn't apply to you, so all right, thank you. Thank you, thank you. Now you seeing it? Yep. Sorry, let me move this again. All right, let me do that one more.
Are the rules still the same for, in MT, even if you're using a wheelchair accessible van?
They are, for, there is an increased rate for that community integrated employment. If you're doing, you have a wheelchair accessible van and you're, transporting someone to, their job, a community job, then that has a higher rate than if you, they don't need a modified vehicle, but the rest of them is the same.
So you don't need miles for the van, for the wheelchair accessible van, what you're saying?
If you were doing it to go to and from work, you would.
Okay, I'll say university,
Yep,
but not.
All right. Correct. Not on a day program. Yep. All right.
Local funding, you can write into and from work to and provide
If you have been approved for the community integrated rate, that's something you want to talk to the SSA about. To make sure that it meets all of the qualifications for that. But then, yes, we locally require the same documentation as DODD.
Only for DODD and ENM, what were the other two places that need to stop tape?
Ohio Pays and Summit DD and Summit DD, Ohio Pays, DODD, OHID.
What is the number for services? Number that is.
What do you want to put in the chat? The 330-634-8011. Yeah. Is that what they're asking? Are you asking, I guess, do you want to ask them if they're asking for providers, like Summit DD provider support or for DODD? And I'll say, DODD's, you can contact DODD through their contact us, but their number is also here at the bottom of their screen. It's on numerous of their other screens, but it's there. So if you have certification questions, if you have renewal questions, you can contact DODD. That's their main number, and they're just different options. And then the forms and rules are there. For those of you guys who couldn't see, they're up at the top of the screen. And you want to go to rules in effect. And then you can scroll down till you get the appropriate rule about the service that you are providing. Right. Any other questions, Janelle? All right. All right. I'm gonna share. All right. Can you guys see the slideshow again? Can you guys see the slide? Pam, can you see the slideshow? Yeah. Okay. All right. The MUI rule is also going to change on July 1st. This one is a for sure date. The draft rule is there, but likely not change from that draft. And Summit DD is going to offer trainings for providers in June. We're going to have some hybrid sessions kind of like this where it's available. You can log in virtually or you can come in person. So we're going to share those dates in the very near future. If you get none on Monday, which you don't, from DODD, they're also, wait a second. They are also going to have, DODD is also going to be having some trainings. They already had one, and I know they're going to have a few more. So you're also welcome to get information to go to theirs as well. But there are some changes to provider requirements in this update to the MUI rule. So I would strongly encourage you guys to go to one of the training to get that updated information. Any questions on that? Wasn't there just one of those? An MUI update? Yeah. I feel like it. I think it was a few years ago. I feel like I just went to one of those. You have the annual MUI training, but they're updating the rule in July, so there's going to be some changes to what you probably just got trained on. And then I just wanted to make sure you guys knew that Summit DD here locally does offer trainings throughout the year. They're on our provider page. There's the link from our website. You could get training for medication administration. That's one of the requirements if you are assisting someone with medications. CPR first aid also required. PMT, which I'm going to come back to, that's on the next slide. MUI is doing quarterly trainings on different topics. They try to pick stuff that actually we're getting a lot of reports of, or that they see providers are struggling with, and they're doing trainings based on things that you guys have requested or that they're seeing a lot of. So you're welcome to attend those. If you're providing any vocational supports like individual employment support, that is something that some independent providers can do. There's training specific to that. And then we do a new independent provider orientation that just covers a lot of basics for independent providers. If you're in a situation where you're just coming back into it, you guys are welcome to attend that. We cover a lot of the basic requirements. So feel free to reach out to provider support. We can get you signed up for that. Also, we welcome suggestions for future training topics. So if you guys are running into roadblocks, you're talking to your other independent providers and they're like, everybody just doesn't know what's going on here, or we want more direction, or we just want some more information, let us know. We would, sometimes we don't know that people are struggling. So let us know. We can do a training and get that information out there. And then this is that PMT training. This is newer, just last year, that there is now a level 1 training that is 4 hours. It's a foundational training that, this is gonna help for de-escalation. So if you're working with somebody and things are kind of, so upset, it's gonna help you as a provider to be able to calm that situation down before it kind of gets into a spot where, law enforcement's having to be, people are having to leave, or, like, before it kind of boils over. It's gonna give you a lot of tools to be able to help in those situations. There's also the full PMT class that includes those things, but it also, that class is for individuals who may need restraints and further like safety techniques. So if you are working with an individual that you need to help them with those things, that is a class that's also available. That one is an 8-hour training. But it also includes all of this de-escalation, because obviously if you can do that, you can de-escalate and calm down the situation, that's the best, before you need to do additional stuff. Yeah.
Do those trainings go towards the annual CEOs?
The, depending on the training, it can, like med admin does not, your, or CPR does not, but if it's specific to the person that you're working with, it can. So if they're working with somebody that would need these de-escalation techniques, and that could count towards their 8 hours. So if you guys are taking a course, it does not have to be through us. Taking a course about helping, diabetic diet, because you work with somebody with diabetes and you take it from the hospital, you can count that towards your 8 hours, as long as it is relevant to what you were doing as a provider. You're not on the meals, and that's information that you need. Yeah.
The 2 hours is required in my learning regardless.
Yeah.
So this will count towards 6 of the 8 hours, but you have to put it on a training
A
log.
training log.
And when you have the training log, you will share.
Yeah, so you could do like the regular My Learning, all 8 hours on there. Or you can just, you have to do your required 2, and those other 6 are the ones that you can, there's some flexibility.
I know I told you I would not talk, but here I am talking. So the PMT level 1, just so everybody's aware, it is quarterly. It's not as often as the PMT initial and refresher. The initial is monthly. Please be advised though, if you're going to sign up for the PMT initial, that you plan ahead, because those classes fill up quickly and you can only have 16, maybe a couple more in that class, and then it closes out. So just kind of be prepared that if you're thinking, oh, I'll do it next month, it may actually be closed. So.
Thank you, Pam. And then I just want to make sure you guys all are aware, Summit DD does have our provider support line. There's that contact information. I think Janelle also put it in the chat. We do respond to calls and emails within 2 business days. We can schedule an appointment for, in person or like a virtual on Teams or Zoom. If you come to one of our buildings, you're probably going to come and one of us is not here though. So I would go ahead and give us a call, email, we'll schedule an appointment. I know that has happened a number of times where we're at our Barberton building, you show up here, vice versa, and we don't want to waste your time and whatnot. So, but we can assist with questions about certification, recertification, running into billing issues, what are rule requirements, best practices, documentation, and then other things that you may come across that you don't know what to do with. Even if you can't answer it, we'll try to get you the person at the end. So feel free to reach out to us. So, does anybody have any questions, feedback, thoughts? When can I make an appointment? Stay after, because we'll get an appointment, yeah. Yeah.
I just want to echo what this gentleman said earlier. I think it would be beneficial to have an EBV, because I had to do it when I was adding on services. And I was like, what is this?
Yeah.
What is this? And then my neighbor behind me, she's a provider. And I was talking to her and she said, I'm confused. And so then to hear him say it, I'm like, okay, I'm not crazy.
No, you were not. We.
And especially when this is tied to being paid, like, again, coming from shared living is pretty straightforward. And so now to do this, I'm like, oh,
Yes,
but yeah.
if we are not experts on this because we don't work for Medicaid, but if we become good enough at it, that we are pretty sure we can help you in a wide group, we will do that. We are just working through it.
Well, can't somebody from Medicaid?
There is at the state level, someone from DOED that supports providers is working with Medicaid to get some more resources for you guys, but it just has not, that actually just started, March 20th, I think was the first meeting for that. But, that would, yes, that would be my dream if someone could just come, but I don't think that's gonna happen. But if we can give you resources, we will. We're just, like I said, you could come in and we will struggle through with you. We've looked at it and probably more times than you have, so we might be able to get you to where you need to go. And we have got where they need to go.
I'm sorry, do you know the reason why they implemented this EVV? Just from a practical perspective, being on this side now, it just seems like it's a spider web. You gotta log into this, you gotta log into this, and it can kind of get frustrating, because like you said, it can kind of take away from the true focus. And you gotta log in and do all of these things. Is there a way where it can be more streamlined? Or is that not even possible?
I don't know, I'm gonna be honest, I don't know if that's not possible. This is a federal requirement that states have a way to do this. This is how Ohio implemented, meeting that mandate. And it is to make sure that when people are getting Medicaid dollars, that those services are actually happening and that it's the right service. So it's a, check, kind of a check to make sure everything is happening as it should. Is why, I am sure there's room for improvement. I'm sure it'll change over the next, probably 3 days, but, it'll change over time. But it is unfortunately one of those requirements that we all just are. Thank you.
Well, where will we find information for NUI trainings in June?
We will send them out via email, similar to how we did this meeting. They will also be in that provider training on our website. And if you get the MUI newsletter, you'll also get an email that way. It'll be in the MUI newsletter.
Someone would like to know that they received an email about the meeting today, why they were there.
Because I was running late. I'm sorry. Whoever that was. I take all full blame for that.
It's the next meeting?
Do you have it, John? Do you have an announcement? The next meeting? I think we got that out at the beginning of the year. We sent a schedule for all of them with the link, so we could resend it when we send this PowerPoint too. Yes, I believe they are too. And it's not, it is April, so it would be June. They don't. We need to make sure that we have the space.
The meeting is on.
June 10th is the two. And for those of you guys who are here, I think that we shared Lorraine's picture, but she was not here. She is our newest quality assurance specialist. She's here. I'm sure you appreciate the fun. So, if you guys are chatting with Lorraine, she's there. So. Any other questions? All right. Well, thank you guys so much for all of the questions and for all of your time. I know there's a couple of you guys who are gonna hang out after. Feel free to do that. We'll get you squared back into me. Thanks.
You can do things for, as you actually making.
Hey,
Doing something